Hi, my name is Kathy and my team members are Ron, Nitesh, and Nitin. We are arguing for the motion. We will talk about why we will never have a good solution to the persistent problem of IT security. First, I'm going to discuss some of the more notorious security breaches in our recent history. Then Ron will give us a description of known threats and he will zero in more on the evolution of hackers. Nitesh is going to discuss modern-day cyber threats and more recent types of digital attacks. Nitesh will also talk about the reasons why internet security is a persistent problem and factors suggesting that future cyber attacks will cause widespread harm. Finally, Nitin will talk about the challenges to finding a solution to IT security breaches. As IT becomes more and more sophisticated, there rises up new generations of people who are curious and interested in finding ways to subvert secure systems. I'm going to walk you through some of the more notorious breaches in our history. I'm going to start off with the Morris worm. Robert Tappan Morris was a young student at Cornell University. He just wanted to see how big the internet was. He created the first computer worm. The worm ended up replicating rapidly and slowed down computers to the point of being unusable. An estimated 6,000 computers were affected, and he became the first person to be convicted under the U.S.'s Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Next, I'm going to talk about Jonathan James. In 1999, he was 15 years old, and he hacked NASA and the U.S. Defense Department. He penetrated computers of a U.S. DoD division and installed a backdoor on its servers. He intercepted thousands of internal emails from different government organizations. He stole a $41,000 piece of NASA software and shut down systems for 3 weeks. He was the first juvenile incarcerated for cybercrime. Next, I'm going to talk about Mafia Boy. In 2000, he was 15 years old, and he unleashed a series of denial-of-service attacks against large commercial websites. It's estimated that these attacks generated $1.2 billion in global economic damages. He was the first to demonstrate how accessible personal information is to the public and how easily it could be retrieved. Today, children as young as 1 to 2 years old are able to access the internet from their parents' smartphones. The interfaces are intuitive, and children are raised knowing how to navigate the digital world. Their curiosity will lead them to discoveries that we cannot even imagine. Teenage hackers in the late 90s and early 2000s figured out ways to hack into the DoD, NASA, and high-profile organizations before the internet was so readily available to the public. The access in those days was nothing compared to what we have now. Therefore, I contend that we will never have a good solution to the persistent problem of IT security because it's part of human nature to be problem solvers and troubleshooters. As fast as a solution is created, there will be people or groups of people trying to figure out ways around that solution. As IT becomes more sophisticated, so do all of the consumers of IT. And now Ron will further discuss hackers and the threat.
Thank you, Kathy. Computer hackers have existed almost as long as computers. In fact, hackers have been in existence for more than a century. In 1878, just 2 years after the telephone was invented by Alexander Graham Bell, a group of teenage boys hired to run the switchboards were kicked off of the telephone system in New York. It seemed the boys were more interested in knowing how the phone system worked than in making proper connections and directing calls to the correct place. Originally, the word hacker did not carry the negative connotation now associated with the term. In the late 1950s, computers were much different than the desktop or laptop systems most people are familiar with today. In those days, most companies and universities used mainframes. It cost thousands of dollars to maintain and operate mainframes, and programmers had to fight for access time. Because of the time and money involved, computer programmers began looking for ways to get the most out of the machines. The best and brightest of those programmers created what they called hacks, or shortcuts that would modify and improve the performance of a computer's operating system and allow more tasks to be completed in a short time. Not until the early 1980s did the word hacker earn disdain, when people began using computers and the internet for their own questionable gains. In 1971, a computer hobbyist named John Draper discovered that a toy whistle included in a box of children's cereal reproduced the same 2600 Hz audio tone needed to open a telephone line, and began making free long-distance calls. He adopted the name Captain Crunch after the cereal, and is arrested dozens of times in the next few years for phone tampering. In 1975, two members of the Homebrew Computer Club of California began making blue boxes, devices based on Draper's discovery that generated different tones to help people hack into the phone system. Their names? Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, who would later go on to found a company named Apple Computer. In 1983, after the release of the movie War Games starring Matthew Broderick, the FBI arrests 6 teenagers from Milwaukee known as the 414s, named after the city's area code. They are accused of breaking into more than 60 computer networks, including those of Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center and Los Alamos National Laboratory. The hacking continues today and shows no signs of slowing down. There are some security threats that hackers use more than others. They are known to cause serious havoc on networks and systems. The most common include viruses or worms, which is a piece of software that can replicate itself and infect a computer without the permission or knowledge of the user. There's denial of service, which is an attempt to make a machine or network resource unavailable to its intended users. There's also phishing. This is an attempt to compromise a user by masquerading as a trustworthy entity, usually via email. There's also malware, which is software or code specifically designed to exploit a computer or the data it contains. We now have rootkits, or collections of software programs used to hide the existence of malicious software on a computer. There is also zero-day exploits, which refers to a hole or vulnerability in software that is unknown to the vendor and exploited by hackers before the vendor has a chance to fix it. We also have zombies, which is a computer connected on the network that has been compromised to perform malicious tasks at the direction of a remote controller. And then there's packet sniffing, which is the act of intercepting and monitoring data passing through a computer network. The frequency and severity of high-profile hacks throughout the years demonstrate that the pace which cybercriminals are becoming more and more innovative. Backed by a $19 trillion industry, they are finding new and complex ways of compromising and breaching systems and evading detection like never before. Symantec, maker of Norton security software, reported that more than 317 million new pieces of malware were created in 2014. It's important to note here that between 2010 and 2011, they reported an increase of attacks from 3 billion to 5.5 billion. To facilitate attacks, hackers can now purchase crimeware toolkits like SpyEye and Zeus Trojan that contain modules for creating Trojan software. So for the cost of $500, you can be a hacker too. There are also hacker websites like hackingtutorial.com and evilzone.org that provide information on how to start in the hacking industry. And now Nitesh will discuss how cybersecurity is getting more complex and difficult to manage.
Thank you, Ron. Now let's discuss how cybersecurity is getting worse and difficult to manage. In modern times, it is said that there are two types of companies, those that they know they have been breached and those that haven't figured it out yet. With respect to IT, we are used to most things steadily improving, languages, CPUs, frameworks, etc. And all are getting better all the time. But when it comes to internet security or cybersecurity, the picture isn't so clear. Up until now, many people thought that cyber attacks just amount to stolen credit card numbers or computer viruses or something. That's not really the case. While your MasterCard and MacBook are valuable things to protect, the technology that relies on the industrial internet are much more valuable. The modern day cyber attacks include things like high speed trains, water treatment facilities, and nuclear power plants, and the list goes on and on. Evidence of one such major attack came to light in June 2010 with the discovery of the Stuxnet, a 500 KB computer worm that infected the software of at least 14 industrial sites in Iran. The figure shows the attack mechanism that was used. Although a computer virus relies on the unwitting victim to install it, a worm spreads on its own, often over a computer network. This worm was unprecedentedly masterful and malicious piece of code that attacked in phases. First, it targeted Microsoft Windows machines and networks, repeatedly replicating itself. Then it sought out Siemens Step 7 software, which is also Windows based, and used to program industrial control systems that operate equipment such as centrifuges. Finally, it compromised the programmable logic controllers. The worm's author could thus spy on the industrial system and even cause the fast spinning centrifuges to tear themselves apart. Reasons to believe internet security is getting worse. The first one is the amount of data stored online is growing exponentially. This means the amount of information that can potentially be stolen is also growing exponentially. The second point is the Internet of Things, or the IoT, which is it's in its infancy, and already there have been many serious breaches. One such example is a channel for watching sleeping babies on Shodan. Shodan is a search engine for the Internet of Things. Recently launched a new section which allows users easily to browse vulnerable webcams. The feed includes images of back rooms of banks, children, kitchens, living rooms, garages, front gardens, back gardens, etc. In 2014, McAfee reported that a conservative estimate of annual cost to big global economy from cybercrime would be around $375 billion in losses, while the maximum could be as much as $575 billion. The recent breach by TalkTalk has revealed that SQL injection risks are still a problem even for large companies with millions of users. Also, this year, PricewaterhouseCoopers reported in the Global State of Information Security Survey that the detected information security incidents have risen 66% over a year since 2009. Also, now we'll move on to the factors suggesting big cyber attacks in future. First one is internet connected systems are inviting targets. The internet is a critical infrastructure for national defense activities, energy resources, banking, finance, transportation, and essential daily life pursuits for billions of people. The tool already exists to mount cyber attacks now, and they will improve in coming years. But as of now, it is a big threat. Second point is security in general is not the first concern in the design of internet applications. It seems as if world will only wake up to these vulnerabilities after catastrophe occurs. The third point is major cyber attacks have already happened. Example are the Stuxnet worm and the attacks in the nations where mass opposition to a regime has taken to the streets. Similar worse attacks are a given. Fourth would be cyber attacks are a looming challenge for businesses and individuals. Certain sectors such as finance and power systems are the more vulnerable. There are noteworthy divides between the prepared and the unprepared. Now Nitin will talk about what are the reasons and challenges due to which IT security will remain a persistent problem.
Thank you, Nitesh. As you can see from the visualization, there are still security breaches happening to the well-established companies like JP Morgan, eBay, Verizon, etc. On January 29, 2015, Anthem, second largest health insurer, discovered that attacker executed a sophisticated attack to gain unauthorized access to Anthem's IT system and obtain personal information of 80 million Americans. In December 2015, it was revealed that a database of 191 million US voters were exposed as a result of incorrect configuration, which included names, addresses, birth rate, party affiliation, phone numbers, and emails of voters in all 50 US states. This was a result of human negligence, which exposed sensitive information on public platform. According to SC Magazine, Codespaces, a former SaaS provider, failed within 6 months of being hacked. The hackers erased data, backups, and machine configuration before attempting to extort the company. Codespaces took steps to change all of its password, but criminal had already created backup logins. Company was unable to continue its operations due to damage to operations and reputation. There are many more cases which can be discussed and talked about. The main question is, why do these incidents happen? Most companies have very good technology to beat the security breach, but they still become victim. In this slide, I'll be talking about the challenges or the reason due to which finding a solution to IT security breach become difficult. First one is a low investment. Most of the time, even big companies don't invest much in IT security, which compromises the security. According to Quad's report, The actual expenses from the recent and high profile breaches at Sony, Target, and Home Depot amount to less than 1% of each company's annual revenues. After reimbursement from insurance and minus tax deduction, the losses are even less. This indicates the financial incentives for companies to invest in IT security are low, not a business issue. As we had seen in TJX case, the management never considered IT security as a business issue, but rather an IT issue. It becomes difficult to invest in IT security if concentration is only on business needs. Negligence. According to 2011 cost of data breach study from Symantec revealed that 39% of organizations say negligence was the root cause of data breaches. Lack of technology. On an average, each breach typically involves nearly 30,000 records, according to a Ponemon Institute report. Part of that is due to obsolete technology used in American credit and debit card transactions. Not able to understand the failure point. There could be many failure points due to which a security of a company can be compromised. For example, as we discussed in TJX case, many companies neglect people, process, and technology failure point. Next one is insider threat. Sometimes disgruntled employees themselves become threat to company's security. You can relate it to Edward Snowden case which happened recently. He was either a traitor or whistleblower, that's another debate. Bad audit practices. Even though audit is in practice, but they sometimes fail to realize that the breach have been happening for a long time and audit was not able to track it. Are your policies strong enough? Most companies and their employees don't follow the security policies which jeopardize the security of the company and employees' data. Even if security policies are in place, they might not be strong enough to tackle the issue of security breach. The last one is no software is perfect. Whichever new software comes in the market, it always have defects and easy to break down. Even antivirus software needs to be updated periodically to keep track of new trojans and viruses. But hackers use the best technology to break down such new antivirus. Finally, the conclusion. We discussed on evolution of IT security and what the potential threats to the IT security since its inception. We also talk about how hack term came into existence and modern day cyber threats. We also gave various reasons why internet security is still an issue and what the factors leading to cyber attacks were. Eventually, we talked on different challenges of not able to find a solution for IT security. These are the references. Thank you for watching our video.